Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, the King has returned.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again. And on today's episode, we're going to get in a quarterbacking state of mind. I want to take a look at the pair of QBs on the field this week in Lubbock, and Behren Morton and Jalen Daniels, and we'll hear from both offensive coordinator Mac Leftwich and head coach Joey McGuire on those two guys who obviously can factor in very, very prominently in a variety of ways, but it's been sort of a different path that both have traveled over the last few years and even into this season, as they have obviously each had their ups, downs, and points in between. So we'll talk a lot of quarterback coming up in just a moment. But, of course, kicking off today's episode with some news that I think went down smooth for a lot in our audience. At least one half of this podcasting duo I'll speak for in saying I enjoyed it myself. But that was plans revealed for a bevel to be leveled coming soon, 2026. You've probably seen the rollout by now. If you have not, welcome back to the world. Thanks for waking up. Here's a look at what Texas Tech was trotting out yesterday as far as a primary return, Chris, to the double T, and then, of course, some accessory marks as well to go along with it. And this is sort of just the beginning. I know this is a long, long process set to play out sort of over the next year or so and maybe even beyond, but some exciting news for the fan base to add to this exciting week.
Yeah. And they, Robert Giovanetti, who you and I both have known for a long, long time, he indicated, they decide that this has been in the works for a while. They felt like homecoming was a good time to kind of release it with a lot of news on the program and the school and all those things. And then they wanted to obviously give a heads up to retailers and all the things with this coming, because I think he mentioned that this is it's going to be a massive change as far as all the logos. I mean, I was just standing in the stadium, and obviously everybody thinks about midfield, but there's the one in the end zone. You've got things on the scoreboard, on trash cans, on the pads on the walls, and just who knows all the different places that if you're really going to go change this thing. Okay, so you have liked this, I know, because you basically put this on the thumbnail of our show every day, the flat double T, right?
I have longed, yearned for a return to what I grew up with, yes.
Yeah, and we're simpatico there. I didn't just hate the other one, but I definitely prefer the one that you're going to get now.
Not at all. It had its time, but its time had come and gone, I felt like.
And it's funny because I was people reach out or have comments on social media. I know we're all shocked, but I saw some folks, maybe of the younger audience, go, "This is all I know. This was on my acceptance letter to go into Tech. This is what this is what they've grown up with," and I certainly empathize with folks. But bottom line is, I think this is the majority of the fan base will approve of this. If anything, I think people wish that it was happening imminently, or okay, can it happen yesterday? Right? That's the one thing. These are just massive branding things that it just takes time. I mean, like the branding with Adidas, and that's kind of why I don't want to say that got the ball rolling, but that there's some, same as, and hey, we're going to have to change this take the Under Armour off and put Adidas on and all those things. So, but this is going to be on all your uniforms next year. And it'll take them a bit to update all, facilities and branding as far as athletics, but this will be the official athletics, whereas the beveled double T will be used by the university with whatever they've got going on. But this definitely gets an opinion from everybody out there. That's what I appreciate, because I don't know if you're into like uniform talk, like, wow, what are we wearing this week? Right? And I get the different opinions there. You and I both used to do radio, and it was amazing. Like, hey, what are we wearing this weekend? And like, oh, I hate it. I love it. I mean, there's just so many. And finally, I was just like, I really don't have too much of an opinion on that. But I will say that from this standpoint, I'm a fan of what they've done here. I like it. I like all of them. The one that is kind of, I wasn't expecting, maybe it's kind of goofy to me, is the Raider Red holding the football.
Yeah, and I heard tell of some other sports exclusive Raider Red iterations to come. That's just the tip of the iceberg, possibly.
Oh, I think Raider Red is playing all sports. It reminds me, like, if you go to if you've ever been to like Disney World, they have the Mickey Mouse like aspect of Mickey Mouse holding the golf club, the Mickey Mouse bouncing a basketball, whatever, that they put on various, and that's kind of what this reminded me of. But it's multi-purpose. Yeah, he plays all sports.
We do have a Quidditch team still, right? Does he get a broom? How far do we take it?
Yeah, but that's what I just wasn't expecting that one. The other ones I think are just all nails.
Yeah. Kind of seemed like Western Kentucky made folks a little bolder and putting a helmet or a ball or a whatever in their mascot's hand and making a look. So whatever. I'm here for something new. I got no problem with it.
Yeah.
I certainly have, I guess, even in my own personal preference, preferred a simpler approach, with obviously this double T being that for whatever period of time that we were, going back, I guess, to 2000, where we were leading up to the change. And then we saw that for 25 years, and now we'll see a return to something that maybe is more familiar to Red Raiders of yesteryear, to put it in a dated context, Chris. But yeah, I think simple is always the way to go if possible, and something that is able to more so kind of lend itself to being timeless. So I'm glad to see it. And I kind of thought, I'm sure just like you did over the years, as you saw that kind of emerge more so, or reemerge on merchandise and things like that, that there had to be something behind it, some reason for that. I've been stocking up on exclusively that iteration for a while, so no problems here. And then you started to see it, I think, maybe in its largest form on a practice field, on the scoreboard, even in the north end zone. I thought, okay, there's something a little different there, because it was truly beveled. You didn't have the artificial black and gray there to denote beveling. And then, of course, you're seeing it sort of pop up here or there. So kind of seems like a natural groundswell in a lot of ways. It's an exciting era of Texas Tech athletics and competition, and kind of seems like a natural fit, man. So it was cool the way they rolled it out. I enjoyed, like I'm sure many others, so much of the content that that creative team, which is always on the money, seemed to have ready. So I thought it, for whatever the opinions are worth, I thought it was a terrific decision. Idea. It sounded like great research done leading up to it to take their best shot at it, and it was rolled out very, very well as well. And look, fashion opinions, you all got them. And even if you want to step up to a message board or a social media account and tell everyone you don't care about them, you still were driven to do that by fashion. So let's just cop to it. All right. We all got takes, right? When it comes to the threads, Chris.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I gotta tell you, the one Raider red head that you had on the screen a second ago, I think, it's I'm looking at it. It's directly to my left. I don't know if that's the way everybody is seeing it. The one that's just the head with the mustache. I would love a helmet with just that on there. I mean, just as a one-off, a football helmet. I think that would be
like maybe just for you on the sideline, or you think the team should wear these?
No, the team. Anyway, so I don't know what all this is gonna look like as it gets rolled out, and like the uniforms and who uses what and all the different kind of branding things. But this was an Adidas thing. This was a Board of Regents, thing. This was a focus group thing. That there was a lot of people consulted, and I think that they felt like that the majority here, this is just what people wanted to do. I mean, you've seen the
Isn't it funny? They just had to ask a couple of podcast hosts.
The level the bevel talk has been very
Yes.
ample on RedRaidersports.com for years.
And elsewhere. I mean, it's grown. It's gotten legs. It's taken off.
Yeah. Because when people saw the court at the USA that I think Todrick Gocher tweeted out, I mean, everybody was like, oh my gosh, and I don't think anybody knew. And I'll tell you what I first thought when I saw until he started getting all these announcements, when I just saw the helicopter video with the Jones, I just thought they were switching up the midfield logo. I didn't know this was a massive university-wide or athletics department-wide change. I did not know. And but yeah, I'm here for it. I applaud it. I wish, like you, it was, like let's do it right now. But it takes a little bit more than that to get it all done.
You can have it the way you like it too. Shout out to our guy Pop on Twitter yesterday that was already telling me which way it needed to go as far as some of the outlining and the coloring. That's one thing I always appreciated about this double T, Chris. It was sort of malleable. Black with the red outline, red with the white outline, red with the black outline, all points in between. How much fashion talk can a podcast about sports hosted by two men stand? I don't know. Let's go ahead and draw the line there, Chris. We've got to get between the lines. I didn't even plan to talk about like the nose tackle versus left guard battle with you today. I feel like maybe we should, just to try and toughen this thing up a little bit. Instead, let's go to the quarterbacks, because you've got an interesting pair coming to town here this weekend. We'll get to the one that's going to be there for Kansas in just a moment. But first, I wanted to get to our guy Behren Morton, who we saw back on the field after an interesting trip to Salt Lake City, to say the least, and then 2 weeks to think about all that. First, today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else. And with a Mazda, you can make everyday drives feel like anything but, with smooth handling and intuitive controls. Plus, with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like the Red Raiders, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it can be easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. You're going to love the all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com and our code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. First, I wanted to get to our guy Behren Morton, who we saw back on the field after an interesting trip to Salt Lake City, to say the least, and then 2 weeks to think about all that before your next opportunity to quote-unquote bounce back. Let's take a listen to his offensive coordinator, Mac Leftwich, talking about Beren's day in Houston.
I think he bounced back really well from, the Utah game. Had a couple picks early and then got knocked out of the game. And I thought he came back and played well. He completed 70% of his passes, and that was with a couple drops, and Houston does a good job that, it's that's not an easy game for a quarterback. They give you a lot of different looks coverage-wise, and they rotate coverage and disguise really well. And so he had to be great with his eyes, and I thought he did a really good job protecting the football and getting it where it needed to go, and just managing the offense at a high level. I think, another 300-yard game for him. So we're continuing to be able to create explosive plays and be efficient as well throwing the football. So I think he's playing well, and I think he's, all the little things that he needs to continue to clean up with his eyes and his pocket movement, all those things. He's really taking that coaching well and attacking those things as we go throughout the rest of the season. So I'm excited to see kind of how he continues to progress.
Chris obviously had a productive day and was part of a winning effort for his team. And I guess what I liked was immediately following the goings on and all that was involved there in Salt Lake, he's faced by another pretty stiff defensive challenge. And I think for the most part, he did rise to that.
Yeah, and it wasn't lost on me. If you were watching the screen there, our man Mac Leftwich with that old school double T on the old hoodie.
Blacked out.
I see you. He's ahead of it. He's ahead of it all. He knew. Yeah, I think Houston will prove to be one of the more difficult defenses you play against all season, just because it's not just talent, but I think they're well coached, and the scheme is just kind of like we had talked about, just kind of a grind to play against. And I think that the no turnover part of it is the biggest thing, because sometimes quarterbacks can get frustrated and try to force it and do some different things. It wasn't perfect, but his stat line is going to show one thing, and he probably should have had some more completions there and maybe another touchdown or two. But, again, his receivers have helped him on some days too, when maybe he doesn't throw it exactly where he wants to, and all those things. It's just how the sport works. But I think that's what you needed, though, is a good positive performance from your quarterback, just to kind of, I don't want to say like kill that storyline. And there's going to be some people that just they haven't believed in Behren. They don't believe in Behren. And now that they saw Will Hammond, they're ready for that button to be pushed. What are we doing? It's going to cost you all those things. There's nothing you can do about that. It just comes with the position of playing quarterback, especially here, because we always want to see the next guy, and the next guy's the next great thing, and all those things. But I'll maintain you'll need both guys. But I thought it was a pretty good performance, considering the setting, coming off the bye week, the scheme that you're playing against. Because that was, I think, coming into the game last week, I want to say that they were like 18th in the country in like total defense, and they were getting a lot of praise for how much they had not missed a beat from last year, replacing their coach and some key pieces, and had very ably done so. And you put up, close to 600 yards of offense against those guys?
Yeah. And it was not, easy come, easy go either. You really had to earn it. I mean, you started off in a way that lets you know it is going to be a fist fight. But Chris, kind of like we had seen, and I feel a little spoiled by this now over the last couple of outings, you break the dam open eventually, you start hitting for some big plays, and then all of a sudden it feels like you've been cruising to this comfortable win the whole time. But there's a large portion where it doesn't feel that way. And I know statistically, it bears out one type of thing where, hey, you are sort of dominating in this way, shape, or form, but the points are all that matters. And so I think some of the tightness there early on has to be beneficial for this team again. And then to see on the other side, hey, you can really crack it open. You continue to chop that wood, kind of like we talked about this week.
And I'll say this too. Jacob Ponton was one of the players that met with the media yesterday, and he talked about those final 7.5 minutes. He just like I would say maybe more than most, like listening or watching this right here, thoroughly enjoyed that aspect of the game. Huffing and puffing for about 30 seconds at a time, but we know what's coming, and the train's coming down the tracks, and I mean, you better move or you're getting run over. And I think that they thoroughly enjoyed that. That may be the for someone like Ponton or some of those guys up front, that may have been the most fun that they had all night. What was at the very end in that drive when you're dog tired, but you're just we're here, we're coming, get out the way, whatever you want to do, but we know what play's being called, and you can't do anything about it. And I got a kick out of like just the wry smile he had on his face when asked about it.
I mean, that's the way you dream of finishing a football game, I think, yes. Especially on the road, because you feel like you are you're breaking their will in a sort of way that kind of only football, I guess, provides in the fourth quarter if you've done the right things leading up to that. I'm glad you touched on that, because I do actually want to, on an upcoming episode, get to something else from Mac Leftwich that I thought actually was probably the best thing I've heard this week, maybe this year, Chris. I'll get to that coming up before the week is done. But before we get out of here today, let's turn to the other side and take a look at what Tech defensively is going to have on their hands as far as this dynamic wild card kind of QB as you described him yesterday. First, today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. We all make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. And with football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. You're going to love how easy and simple it is to use. And of course, PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Download the PrizePicks app today and use our code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. With PrizePicks, run your game. In Jalen Daniels, and let's go back to Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire talking about the type of challenge he brings to the table.
Like Utah, you're going to get more quarterback design runs. You're going to get their option game. You know, they've always, since Lance has been there, had some kind of speed option or some kind of option in their offense. So you're going to get a little bit more quarterback design runs. You know, some the other night, you know, we talked about it this morning also. Some the other night, you know, our edge guys, as good as they're playing right now, they can't get pushed past the quarterback. They've got to counter. We got to do a better job with our interior rush, you know, because some of those the other night, they weren't design run, quarterback runs. That guy was just really good at running the football, and he got pressured by the two edge guys, and he stepped up and took off. And so we've got to do a better job. We can't be independent rushers. We've got to work together. Probably got to do a few more games, not just this week, throughout, you know, to kind of mix some of that stuff up. It's harder for quarterbacks to run, quarterback draw, or to take off whenever you're doing that. But they're a little bit more similar to Utah as far as their quarterback run game.
Chris, got a dynamic QB coming up, and you already mentioned it this week. Wasn't lost some of those yards that Houston's QB was able to find when he was just making some things happen with his legs. So kind of interesting to be coming off of that and knowing what you're about to face as well.
Yeah, you know, if they were writing a book about Jalen Daniels, they would title it Unscripted. and that is the scariest part about these kinds of quarterbacks. Just because have a plan, we've bottled up what they want to do, but then he's just like, you know what? Give me that eraser. Let me just figure something else out. And it's all on the fly, and then it breaks down, and he's just good enough to make you pay at times. This is a quarterback that is going to make some plays. That's just who he is. You just have to limit that. He doesn't have the best cast of characters around him. I mean, we think they're going to be missing their starting running back, Daniel Highshaw. LaShawn Williams will be the guy that's been playing the last couple of weeks. He's a capable Big 12 back. You know, we've told you about Emmanuel Henderson, the Bama transfer, he can flat out fly. Not the biggest guy and all those things, but you're just going to have to pay attention to where he is down the field. They're missing a starting tight end that is now out for the year, that has been out for a couple of weeks, I think, and they've announced that he's out for the year. But that's why it's all about number 6, Jalen Daniels. I think he's just what can scare you, just because you can plan for it all, and he can still figure out a way to, you know, whether it's all based on his legs, and whether he keeps it or he's scrambling to extend the play, you know, to throw it. That's what he's capable of, and so that's what gives you just a bit of pause. I don't envision a scenario where they could win this game if he's not a big part of it. If he just has a pretty good day or an okay day or less than that, I just don't see how they get it done. But if he has a big day and he's prone to having these, you know, you don't know what you're getting into here. So that's and as I pointed out the other day, and we were pointing it out during the broadcast the other night, David Bailey gave Houston so many rushing yards because he was whipping Dalton Merriman like he stole something. I mean, just like not even getting a hand on him. It's just like, boom, here I am. And he's like, I don't want any part of this. And Chris is just out. He's out the gate. and it was a couple of 10 or 12-yard gains, and so you're going to have to be very disciplined with everything. This is also a team that is going to move a lot of personnel around with motions and shifts and a lot of eye candy. And it's the same base set of plays. They just dress it all up. They try to confuse you. They try to get you distracted. Hey, look over here. We're leaking somebody out over there. I mean, that's just the whole. So there's a lot going on here. It's that's why we talked about the film study and all the challenges that come with that. And now we're asking the crowd to be really loud on third down. If you're Joey, and they were talking about, we're trying to need to be able to communicate with each other, but it'll be loud to try to communicate if you're on tech defense.
What do you make of Jalen Daniels and just kind of the profile of his college career to this point? I think he's about 35 years old, like his sixth season of college football. I thought it was interesting, too. He's like a 500, 50-50 guy, TD to interception a season ago. I think it was like 14-12, 15-12, 16-2, I believe, so far this season. So I don't even know quite what to make of him as a college quarterback to this point, other than dynamic.
Here's what's interesting is that this is his sixth season in college football. He's dealt with a variety of injuries and missing the bulk of more than one season in total. This will be Lance Leipold's fourth time to play you, and yet it's going to be Jalen Daniels' first time to play you. I don't think he's ever taken a snap against Texas Tech. Back in 23, it was Jason Bean was the starter because Daniels was out, and then he got knocked out of the game, and then they were down to Cole Ballard was the kid's name. And so I don't feel sorry for any of this scenario because Texas Tech has dealt with their own QB injury issues. I think this is the best version of him. I think that, talking about Jalen Daniels, I think he's probably thought to be a late-round draft pick. This isn't some physical freak like size or just lightning fast, but the combination of it, he's just very athletic, and now he's got a lot of experience. And as they have talked about in their camp, he's seen everything. He knows every sort of blitz and all that. And don't forget about this point too. He saw Houston's defense last year and Shield Wood. He knows this style of defense. They may have a feel for how Coach Wood will adjust to certain things and all that. So don't forget about that game within the game. I don't know how much you will tweak or they will tweak, but it just comes down to your group of players versus Jalen Daniels, large in part. And their offensive line is not. This isn't Houston. Their offensive line is pretty good. They've got a couple of guys that I think that have a chance to play at the next level, and I don't know if their skill players are near as good as what you may see, but their one wideout is legit. And Daniel Highshaw would have been a name that people would have known too, but I'm gathering that he's not going to play this weekend, as they hope to get him back at some point. Is what Lance Leipold said.
Chris, any of their starting offensive linemen used to play for us before this year?
No, sir. Yeah.
Well, you can't get it that way every week, but I sure like the idea of every once in a while just shipping off guys that didn't do much for you to somebody you're playing the next season. That works out well. So I just may ask you that as we roll through this year, just as part of my scouting report. Chris, appreciate your time and the perspective as always, man. Enjoyed it, one step closer to getting back to the Jones and a big-time weekend. So looking forward to a few more rounds to chop it up with you on some episodes upcoming. We'll see you then.
I love all my double T's equally, like I love my children and my quarterbacks. But I'm the flat double T is my favorite. So I'll just leave you with that. Bang, bang. Guns up. We love you all.
Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Appreciate the everydayers for always being out there. And, of course, the Matador Mob. Hit the show notes and find the link to a free 14-day trial if you're interested in joining that crew. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks, as always, for the time, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.